From Arizona to Washington and all the way to Georgia, welcome to the Coast to Coast Catch Up. We're just two childhood friends who grew up together, chased sports dreams, and now live on opposite sides of the country. This podcast is our way of catching up, unpacking real life, and sharing the ride with you. From deep conversations to lessons we're still learning, laughs to life pivots is the kind of catch up everyone needs. Let's get into it, Abe. We at this point have not released the videos. Abe and I are still in conflict for when we're going to release them. So, if you're listening to this, somebody won that argument and these got released. So,
but I know you had, I was keeping up with you. I know you had a hell of a week. Tell us about your week.
Yeah. Mine was a little more positive based. So I had a few milestones. Like we talked last week, we were going to run an Ironman. So I got out my running shoes and I ran 4.5 miles. So we can add that to the checklist. Haven't biked or swam yet. How's yours looking, Abe?
I ran 1 mile.
1 mile. All right. Hey, only 25.2 to go. So gonna get that Ironman down.
Yeah, Kenan texted me on what was it, the day after
the
podcast. You ran and you just texted me like 2.8 miles, and I was like, oh, damn it! Like, so I instantly laced up my it was pretty late at night. I instantly laced up my shoes. Like, I got to run at least 1 mile.
Good. Good. I'm glad we can keep each other accountable in that, and that'll be fun to track. So did that. I benched over 300 again. First time since playing over in Austria. I didn't do a great job during season of keeping my strength. I lost quite a bit just playing such a long season. I played 2 back-to-back seasons, and if you've played a football season, you'll come to find that it's more of a recovery-based lift week to week rather than a strength building one. So a lot of recovery, not a lot of strength building over those 9 months. So working on building the strength again. Got 305. So on the way to 315 again, 3 plates. So happy to be there. And then I dunked yesterday. I didn't realize I could do that, but that's kind of been on the bucket list for a while. I think I've had a few dunks. I wouldn't call them, they weren't smooth, but yesterday I was throwing it down. I probably got 4 or 5 and left the gym pretty excited. So that was super exciting. So yeah, that was big. And then played some pickleball this weekend, and similar to the goals last week, I beat Mac and Michaela twice. Alyssa and I
was gonna say
Alyssa and I came out hot after the cruise. I think we played with heavy paddles on the cruise, and we came back to our personal paddles, and they're a little lighter. So I think we had a little quicker reflexes, and we'd been training, and Mac and Michaela, I guess, weren't. But yeah, won the first 2 out of 3, and then lost the next 2. So ended up going 2 and 3, but that is a win for us. And I was playing and just on cloud 9, and basically said I don't have to win again for the rest of the year. And so Alyssa's happy with that. So hopefully we can continue to win. But I did say if we got a few wins, I'd be happy, and I am. So that's good. That I beat that goal quick. It's only August, and I'm already beating my year goals. So
that's awesome.
Also, yeah, that was good. And then also this weekend, Mac and I went out and picked berries for about an hour. We went out and picked blackberries. They're in season. I don't know if you can see my screen right now, but there's actually some right here. So yeah, went out and picked about 12 pounds of them. So that's been fun. We froze two freezer bags, and then just have some in the fridge that I've been packing for lunch. And Alyssa's been making stuff like blackberry ice cream, blackberry lemonade. She's been making blackberry syrup, blackberry jam. We're thinking we're going to make some wine, but we'd have to store it for like 3 months. And so we're like, we don't have the biggest apartment, and we don't know where we'd store a gallon jug for a month. So
it'd be good.
I think we'll pass on that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to cut you off, but it'd be kind of a good idea because, like, 3 months from now, there's not going to be any blackberries around, right? So it'd be kind of cool to look at it and be like, hey, man, 3 months from now, we're going to have that.
Hey, Thanksgiving time. Let's go. Yeah, but it'd be cool. I mean, it only takes 4 pounds of blackberries to make a gallon of wine, and a gallon of wine is 6 bottles. So, we could have some fun with that. But looking like we'll just stick to the the lemonade and just eating them for lunch. And I don't know, maybe Michaela will make a pie or something. We'll see with that, but pretty fun. And then I also golfed on Monday with Mac and his engineer buddies. So we did a little par three course with Mac's buddies from work. I golfed. What did I golf? I did a 40. I shot a 42 and then a 38. So not the best, not the worst. Plus, what is that? You do the math. You know that.
It's 90. It's 80. It's 80.
Yeah, somewhere in that range, which isn't terrible, but it is a par three course. So what does that translate to in real golf, Abe?
Probably like 110, 115.
I was hoping
No,
about
hold on.
100.
Yeah, but it's probably like 105, 110.
Okay. I was hoping to break 100, but that's okay. Still gonna leave some meat on the bone for golfing. I had one birdie. That was pretty exciting. It was about 3 foot from a hole in one, so not quite as good as Alyssa, but close enough.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that was kind of a highlight of my week was Alyssa and I went to the Fan Fest for the Seahawks game. It was just basically a Seahawks practice. Went to Lumen Stadium, the stadium they play at, and yeah, that was a good time. Alyssa and I went and watched the practice. Really fun for me. It was a practice. I got to watch their one-on-ones, watch the DBs, kind of see myself in their shoes, seeing the drills that they do that I used to do, and that was really fun, and I really enjoyed it. And then Alyssa and I walked around Seattle, got some clam chowder with the bread bowl. That was fantastic, and got some ice cream and just went on a little date, and it was very fun. Both of us enjoyed that very much. So yeah, that was my week. Highlight of the week was probably dunking. That was probably my high. I've been wanting to do that for a long time, and my low is I've had some friends I've wanted to call this week and just haven't got around to it with it being so busy. Jaden in particular. I had another name on this list, but in the 20 minutes it took me to drive home, I actually called him. So checked one off the list, still working on calling Jaden, and I'll get to you, Jaden. Sorry. So yeah,
that's awesome.
Good week for me.
Yeah, I mean, wins and losses for me. The losses are pretty clear. I went into that. The win, I think it's for both of us, but we both got called from one of our friends to be in their wedding coming up in June next year. So
yeah,
I think we were both pretty excited about that. I remember he called me and Mina was sitting right next to me and she was like freaking out because she was so excited. So
nice.
Yeah, just a cool call.
Yeah,
it's cool to get called up from
it caught me out of the blue. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So yeah, looking forward to that. So what are we talking about this week, Abe? What are we getting into?
So long story short, I think this topic is kind of the reason why I had this idea to start a podcast. Ken and I were just throwing the football in his backyard, talking about, Arizona and life and where we'll end up. And we've all lived in you and I have lived in some pretty cool places and some pretty different places. But I think one thing that we kind of consistently talk about is Arizona and just what we've learned and what we've noticed. And I think you and I are pretty we change a lot, but we're very good at noticing things, very observant. Observation is key to life. And so so that's what we're talking about. We're basically talking about Arizona, a lot of different things that we experience and notice throughout our lives, whether it's growing up or now, being away from it, being in it. So it's a pretty cool state 48, but yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it. So we'll get right into it. Cannon, first topic we have is, what are things that you miss or missed about Arizona?
Yeah, I'll start with a more goofy one. Air conditioning. I've lived in quite a few places now. Went to school in Wisconsin. I'm now in Washington and lived over in Austria for a bit, and none of those three places had air conditioning. So I miss air conditioning. It's a great invention. I thought it was crazy when I moved out to college and they're like, yeah, the dorms don't have AC. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's a necessity. And so uh, here in the heat of summer, I say heat of the summer as it's 70 degrees out, but there has been some nights where it's Alyssa and I are pretty warm and, throwing the covers off and getting mad at each other just because we're hot. And so it, yeah, definitely miss that, but definitely living in different places. So how about you, Abe? What's something that comes to the top of your brain?
That definitely wasn't the first thing that came to my top of my brain, but it's a good point. I'll never forget. We'll talk about it more later. But the first week in the dorms, the first week in going back to school in college in the Midwest was what an experience, a learning experience. I realized how hot it was and just the misery of being in the dorms. That wouldn't fly. I feel like even at like a penitentiary, but nonetheless, it happened and it was awesome. But no, I think one thing that most recently I thought of was the amount of trails that Arizona has. Like I shouldn't say the amount of trails, but the quality and I guess the planning of trails. Off-roading once in Georgia nearby. It's like an hour and a half away from us. And, I thought I knew where I was going. And I did. And, everything turned out fine. But, I got done with and obviously there's no service and you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So I'm not trying to go on my phone and figure out, stuff. I'm just kind of figuring out as I go. But I got back and got home and I realized that if I kept going on that trail, it would have not been an out and in. It would have been, kind of a loop, shooting me out of another spot, another trail. And I remember expressing my frustration to this, and Mina's dad was like, "Yeah, that's normal." And I was like, "No, it's not. Like, normal is Arizona, where everything is properly like mapped out online at the sites. Like, there's different kinds of trails. It's different jurisdictions, different areas. They all interconnect. So, yeah, we were blessed, man. We living that close to where we were, and the trail systems and quality and off-roading and hiking, horseback riding. Like, I don't think there's a better state. And I have yet to find one. I'm sure there's some contenders, but I've yet to find a better state where Arizona just dominates the field of quality and clearness of trails.
And to piggyback off that, I'd say the road system in general, just the grid system and having a street every mile on the mile. It's if you look at a map over top of Arizona, it's just a perfect grid, a road every mile, and north, south, and east and west, and it makes a lot of sense. And especially when you go over into those East Coast states, it's just a jumbled mess. All those roads are hundreds of years old and they've been that way forever, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But nobody wants to do road work or remap all the buildings or anything, so it just kind of stays that way. So that's also something that I missed being down there. Everything just making sense in that avenue, and yeah, that's a good one though.
For sure. What are the things that you feel like are underappreciated about Arizona? Or what do you think things that people miss when we're living in it, right?
Yeah. So for me, I really miss the ability to change scenery so quickly. You think of Arizona, everyone, you talk to people who haven't been there or aren't from there, and all they can think about are, the old Western tumbleweeds, a few cactus, and, rattlesnakes. And that's about it. Maybe some scorpions and somebody riding a horse and talking in a Western accent. That's what people picture. But, Arizona actually has a lot of different geography. You can drive up north and get out in the mountains and the forest, and you're actually in pretty deep forest. There's elk and black bear, and it's a legit forest with snow in the winter. And yeah, so I really like the ability to just be able to go and switch your scenery, where I feel if you go anywhere else in the country, you're pretty much in the similar scenery, especially Midwest area.
Yeah, to tell people that I to this day I still get it all the time. But to tell people that we snowboard in the wintertime, like they just don't, like, no one believes it at all. And then you explain to someone that, you know, the East Coast and Midwest, like, yeah, like Mount Humphreys is like 12,000 feet. And that still doesn't like register in their brains. They're like, what do you mean 12,000 feet? Like, I don't like, what is that compared to like Everest, you know? And it's like, that's not how, you know, let's not compare it to that, but like, it's pretty high. Like, it's extremely high. If you go hike that mountain in the summertime, I guarantee you're throwing up if you've never done it before. And so just like the contrast of trying to explain like all the nice things about Arizona, it's so hard, but I'd put it up against, going back to snowboarding, I put it up against anything that they have on the East Coast. Everything's always going to be snow dependent, but the length of runs from the top to the bottom, the vertical drops, the steepness, is it the best? No, like it's not a Colorado or a Utah, but man, like Flagstaff will dump. I remember looking it up, and Flagstaff's like right on the border of like the 10th snowiest places in the US, which is crazy. But like in a span of 2 days, they'll get like 3 feet of snow, which is crazy growing up. I mean, anytime that happened, we would all just figure out who's going up and and just start snowboarding. And that's only a couple hours away, 3 hours away. Sunrise is 4 hours away. So yeah, it's just so cool that you can change scenery in the drives up there. It's funny, like going to Payson, going to Flagstaff, up in the mountains, up to the Pines. I took that for granted. I never really thought those drives were cool because I didn't know anything else. And then I remember going to school for a couple of years and not going to Flagstaff, and then driving to Flagstaff or Payson, one of the two. It was Payson, driving up to Payson with my dad to play golf, and I just couldn't believe the hour drive and like seeing the scenery change. You can actively see the scenery change like with your own eyes, which is it's incredible. And yeah, like anywhere in Georgia to drive a long distance, you're just on a 2-lane road highway system, cutting through greenery, and that's it. Which is cool.
I go to say just about anywhere else. I mean, maybe California, there's the exception just because of how large it is, but there really isn't much scenery within states and other places, at least where I've lived. It's Washington, there's a little bit difference in the East and the West, but yeah, definitely a cool spot in Arizona for that.
And then, yeah, I think lastly, one of the main things that I'll say that I've always underappreciated was just the location that our parents like picked to have houses. We were 30 minutes away we're from Mesa, Arizona, about 30 minutes away from downtown Phoenix pretty consistently, unless it was a Tuesday at 9 a.m. And then we were like 20 minutes away from camping with no service under the clear night stars, and having to Tonto, which I think is one of the biggest national forests in the U.S. I think top 5. So to have those on both sides of us, it was awesome. I couldn't imagine a better place to live in Arizona. Getting older, looking into buying homes and stuff like that. Like, I ask my parents all the time, like, I'm like, did you guys just get lucky or did you plan this out? And my first 3 answers from my dad were like, oh no, we planned this out. And then you started to be like, oh no, we got completely lucky. We had no idea, it turned out to be like this. So I think that's just kind of a big win for my family, and obviously that correlates with your guys' family because that's how I met you guys, but with the proximity. But man, I couldn't pick a better spot to grow up really in the country. And that being, just on the edge of civilization and outside of Phoenix, Arizona. So,
yeah, it was great. And another big thing that I enjoyed from that is only being 30 minutes away from the airport. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal growing up, but when you get older and you got to ask, I had family in Arizona, so it was no big deal. 30 minutes is nothing for for anyone to drive and drop you off. But now moving away and like you got to Uber somewhere or you got to, ask somebody that you don't know too well for a ride. It's like, and that in college was an hour and you're like, you start to feel bad asking people for those rides or, it would add up if it was an Uber. Luckily I've been good at making friends and having the ability to have them drive me. But dude, having the airport 30 minutes away is definitely underrated. Something I didn't realize I was missing until I left.
I've got to add this, but a consistent 30 minutes, to the airport. Yeah. The two polar opposites I have is Atlanta. I'm physically closer to the airport than I was in Phoenix, but I try to schedule my flights according to traffic, but there's times where it's taking me an hour and a half, hour 45 to get to the airport. And it's just brutal. And you never know. Like, I don't know if it's going to take me 30 minutes. I mean, if it's middle of traffic, I know it's going to take at least an hour, but on a, Friday at 9:00, it still could take an hour and a half. It could take half an hour. I have no idea. I have to check, which makes it's just another thing that you have to worry about when traveling. Which thankfully I've gotten pretty good at it. And then Winona was 2 hours away from the cities, and I remember asking like my first not my first friend, but no, that first one to pick me up from the airport to like drive me back to Winona. I was like, hey man, like I'll give you like, $40. Like, can you come pick me up from the airport and like take me to school? And he was like, dude, yeah, like of course. And I was like, and so I remember like handing him $40. He's like, no, dude, like you're all good. Like I'd do this for anyone. Because that's what's normal. Like he's always 2 hours away from the airport. He doesn't do anything different. Right. Like it was just a true like mind shift. And yeah, I mean, I took friends I would drive 2 hours to the airport, drop them off. We'd make an excuse to like go to like Minneapolis into a bigger city and hang out and do something and then come back. We make a day out of it. And so I was on the other end of it, but yeah, when you're paying for like an Uber, get to the Atlanta airport, like it's terrible. It's awful.
Right. But you only know what you know. So it's, growing up in it, I didn't know any different. And I think we'll find a lot on this list is we don't know much different until we moved other places. And so Arizona is a very unique place. And I don't think a lot of us realized it living there until we got out and moved to different places. So yeah, it's funny. So Abe, let's kind of work into our next topic. Let's talk about the obvious one, Arizona. Let's talk about the weather. How is the Arizona weather?
I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a dry heat because it is, but the weather is damn nice. Definitely something I didn't appreciate. Definitely I took advantage of, but like I never checked the weather once growing up at all. It was always going to be sunny, maybe a 10% chance of rain. It was either going to be 60 degrees in the wintertime or like 90 degrees or 100 degrees, depending on the time of year in the summertime. I
think you're misremembering that one. It gets up to like 115,
120, but like
120. It might touch.
Yeah, whatever the day was the day before, it's probably the exact same the next day with a maybe 3% change. So the consistency is awesome. And yeah, you can do stuff year round. You never get snowed in. You never get rained out. You can't get rained out, but like that doesn't really happen.
Right.
It's awesome. I really enjoy it. I still enjoy visiting it. I think that's why a lot of people do visit Arizona, is because of the weather, but completely different.
Definitely. Weather will not cancel your plans. If you're, planning on something in Seattle, sometimes I guess rain doesn't really cancel your plans here because you get used to it. And in a way, the heat is the same way there. It's going to be there. You can either do stuff or not do it. And if you choose to do it, it's going to be around. And with the weather being so consistent, it also does not bring about seasons. people joke that there's two seasons in Arizona, very hot and mild hot. And that's pretty accurate. I would have to say, there's not a traditional fall with the leaves changing and everything getting uh, pretty and romanticized and the air gets crisp and it's football season. No, there's none of that. It's still about 90 until it's about 80.
Yeah, it's
um,
there's no snow
yeah,
at Christmas. There's no, it's you probably do Thanksgiving outside in a pretty comfortable t-shirt. Yeah, it's you get what you get, and you know what you're
right.
getting. It's old trusty, it's reliable. Which is awesome growing up because you can spend all your days outside. And I remember as a kid, like I didn't care about summers. Like I didn't like it never got too hot. Like, it'd get hot, but like I don't know, you were a kid, like you just kind of get used to it. Like your body acclimates to it, like going anywhere. Going to it now, I'm like, man, it's really hot. Can't remember the last time it was like 120 and I was outside and doing stuff, but I never remember it being a problem as a kid. You do a lot more stuff at night though in the summertime in Arizona because
Or
once
early
the sun
mornings.
yeah once the sun goes away or if it's not out yet, like it's actually pretty nice outside even in the heat of summer. But yeah, the no winter wonderland Christmases, even
Yeah.
spring, like we do get some wildflowers but not a ton. Very anticlimactic.
Yeah. But to piggyback off your Christmas thing, it's funny to grow up in that and you're like, you're not gonna get snow. You live in Arizona. I think I maybe got snow 2 to 3 times and it was barely enough to gather a snowball to throw at your sister. So it was yeah, it was very minimal, but you still have the same songs, you still have the same movies as everyone else in the country, and they just don't really pertain to you. And so that was a funny thing about being in Arizona is you just kind of knew white Christmas isn't a thing. Like it's just, it's just how it is in Arizona, and you don't realize that everyone else, just about everyone else, gets some sort of white winter at some point. It's not necessarily Christmas for a lot of states, but for most of them, they get at least a day of snow a year.
I
That
don't,
is not the
yeah,
case in Arizona.
I don't think I ever told you this, but like we had a Christmas tradition between like my immediate family, where we'd go play golf on Christmas. Because there was a course that my dad used to work at. It was closed. We still knew the owner very well. Like he would just open the gates and we'd be able to play, have the whole course to ourselves, let the dog run around and play golf. Because that's what my whole family does for fun. And I remember being every year I was so pissed, even as a golfer, to like go play golf on Christmas. Like all I wanted to do was to be in snow, build a snowman, um, throw a snowball at my hypothetical sister, like just do all the Christmas things. And I just resented it. I hated going to play golf. And then I got older and I was like, dude, I get to play golf on Christmas. Like, how cool is that? Like, I had a whole course to myself. Like, I was just, ungrateful little kid. But it's
Yeah.
so funny, like looking back and thinking that. Even now, I got an ad for fall weather with Fox NFL coverage. The music on and a bunch of fall treats and leaves changing and all this stuff. And I'm like, that never happened in Arizona. It got bearable outside. It just wasn't super hot. So yeah,
Yeah.
very false advertisement for if you live in Arizona. There's not a whole lot. The summer barbecues, they don't happen in the summertime. They happen every other time other than that.
Right. Once the sun goes down or goes up. Yeah, Arizona is just such a unique place, and I think growing up there kind of gave us a cool perspective because now everywhere else we go and it's green, we're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But just about everywhere else is green. So especially compared to Arizona. So it gave us a funny way of looking at life. And it was raining this morning here in Seattle. Figures. It actually hasn't rained in like 2 months, so it was the first time in a while, and I was like, I actually like this weather. Like I see
Yeah.
why I'm in Seattle because growing in Arizona, that was my favorite weather was rain. I loved when the Haboob came
Yeah.
out and we were in the summer and we'd throw on some goggles and go play in the sandstorm and so I guess that's another thing that only Arizona. I'm sure other states have it. I'm sure Texas has it and maybe like
Yeah.
Oklahoma has the summer rain, but that was my favorite weather growing up was that. And another thing to continue talking about weather is in the summertime it's super hot, right? You're like looking for something to do during the day. So you go to the pool, you get in the pool and you get out of the pool and you actually feel cool, which is, it makes sense to me growing up in Arizona. Like it's a dry heat. So you get out and you feel the wind and you're actually cooled off. Where I found that in the Midwest, I would go in the pool, get out, and it still feels like I have a warm blanket on me just because of how humid it is. And I was in Wisconsin, which is nowhere near as humid as uh, Georgia, like you are now, or Indiana, where most of my family's from. And that humidity just freaking zaps you, man. It's hard. You get out of the shower and you're still feeling like you're sweating, and that's another thing I miss about Arizona is just being able to get out of the shower, get out of the water, and just instantly be cooled off.
I rarely brought a towel to the pool. Like
Oh, never,
if I went
never.
if I went to a community pool or my friend's pool in the summertime, chances are I didn't have a towel because I would get out and after maybe not I swear, not even 5 minutes, you'd be like basically bone dry. Maybe your suit would be a little bit wet, but there was no need for them. And I remember jumping in the pool here, and someone's like, "Hey, you need a towel?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And then I just sat there for like, like an hour, and I was still like sopping wet. And I was like, "What's going on?" It's like, dude, you need to, dry off. And I was like, I looked like the idiot. And I was like, yeah, I do need to dry off. I'm still sopping wet.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just funny. Like I still don't bring towels to pools. I just don't. I'm stupid like that, I guess. Like,
yeah. No, it's a habit you've built for the last
yeah,
15 to 20 years that you don't even realize you've done. But yeah, it's funny, and that's what the great thing about traveling and moving does to you is it just makes you realize the things you think are the same everywhere are just aren't. Like you start to learn that there's different ways to think about things. As dumb as bringing a towel is, it's like, oh, that's funny. I've never thought that way, and just saying it out loud too to you, just kind of going back and forth
yeah.
is funny in that aspect.
I do kind of appreciate it. Makes packing again small. We're talking about minuscule wins here, but like it just makes packing for the pool a hell of a lot easier. That's just one less thing you got to carry. God forbid you got a couple kids, you got a wife, you got all these bags, coolers you're carrying. The last thing you want to do is carry one more towel. Like it makes life just a little bit easier. But where it gets a little bit worse is that pool deck gets really hot. So
Oh yeah,
you gotta weigh options.
that's true. Do you want shoes or a towel?
But
That's
yeah,
very
so I
true.
mean, and again, a lot of it, what makes Arizona is the weather. And of course, in the summertime, you can always go up north, and it's about, what would you say, 15, 20 degrees cooler in Flagstaff.
Yeah, and even Payson,
Yeah,
which is only like an hour and a half away, you'll instantly drop at least 10 degrees.
yeah,
Flagstaff, you could probably drop another 10. So there's ways you can combat it. I'm not going to say it's going to be cold in Payson or cool in Flagstaff, but you can combat it, and it's not miserable. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up the weather. Do you have anything else to add
no,
about Arizona weather?
I think when you're hitting the 110s in Phoenix, and then you get up to Payson where it feels like 90, 95, like that 95 feels pretty good. like,
Oh yeah, no,
like
you're totally right.
I know it still says 95. I totally understand that, but it feels it feels pretty nice. Um, which is, yeah, again, I think it's one of the more unique places to live, and I think that's why you see a lot of people have second homes there, right? And I think that goes right into our next segue of we have battled snowbirds our entire lives. And Arizona's a very diverse, unique. It's got diverse demographics, and that's been really cool to see more when I go to a place like the Midwest, where there's not a whole lot of demographics
No,
changes.
no.
In Arizona, again, we have the main thing which is the snowbirds, which the people that can't afford two homes or would like to, they spend their summers in Washington, Midwest, Northeast, wherever it's cold, in the wintertime. They spend their winters in Arizona. They spend their summers up where it's nice. Very interesting. A lot of those people are generally older. A few things I'll notice right away with that is stores get busier just because the population is in flux. But man, driving in the summertime, no traffic ever. It's awesome. Driving, summer is one of my favorites in Arizona just because it becomes a ghost town because a lot of the snowbirds are gone. And yeah, if you could, bear in the heat, which you get used to when you live there, you have no other option. But there's just no one on the roads.
It's true.
The lines get shorter, the waits get shorter. Like it's just kind of it's like a college town with no college students. It's kind of the best way to
the demographic of when the people come back, they are the older folk and they do drive slower. Like there is a
you'll know when you see them driving.
What is the word? Yeah. What is the word I'm looking for? A stereotype. There is a stereotype. If you're behind a slow driver, that is a snowbird. They likely have a Wisconsin, Minnesota plate on their plates, and generally they're right, sadly. So
yeah, but no. So on top of that, right, you get a lot of people that aren't from Arizona that live in Arizona. I mean, I'm a perfect example of that. Like my parents were the only family in Arizona. Growing up playing a lot of golf, like you get really good at talking to people, making a small talk with people. And one of the things I would always ask, within the first couple holes of meeting someone, whether I got paired with them or what, was, hey, where are you from? And I'm 99% of the time expecting I'm from Baltimore, I'm from Minneapolis, I'm from Wisconsin, I'm from Washington. Like I'm from somewhere that's not Arizona. And which was awesome. I loved, the sparking conversation. I loved being able to talk about, where they're from, asking them questions, just my curious mind kind of at work. And I would literally be lost for words when someone was like, oh, I'm from here. I'm from Arizona. I'd be like, I don't know what to talk to you about. like I'm not used to that. It rarely happened, which is cool to see, right? It's such a melting pot, such a diverse place where again, like I'd play around to golf with someone from Baltimore, from someone from DC, someone from Washington, all in one group, and it'd be completely normal, which is cool. I think that's awesome. You really meet a lot of different people from the US. You can kind of feel what each place is like. So
yeah, and with everyone not necessarily being from Arizona, it's just one or more of your parents were born in a different state. Nobody's really family is from Arizona. There are people out there that are that way, but it's very rare. Maybe one of the parents was, and then the other parent was Midwest or something. I know personally, both my parents are from Indiana. Where are your parents from?
Dad's from Indiana. My mom's from Idaho.
Yeah. So, a lot of them have moved there. And so I think it's a cool aspect in Arizona where people kind of have a travel bug in them. It's almost ingrained in the people there just because of the type of people that have moved there. Even without our own friends, we have people living in California and Georgia, Washington, Colorado, Texas. People have moved just within our own friend group into new places, and I don't think that's normal for a whole lot of places to have that many of people and from the same place move to different places, especially the Midwest. For me, at least, it seems like everyone's sixth generation Midwestern, or and they don't really have that travel bug that Arizonians do.
Yeah, to be like, again, for no one to have really anything in common other than moving to Arizona, like it's cool. You instantly feel comfortable. You're already uncomfortable moving to a new spot, but to feel more comfortable, like, oh, like they're not from here either. Like, where are you from? And right, again, it just sparks conversation, sparks comfortability when you're uncomfortable. And yeah, like just to have that one little link of, hey, we share this trait, it leads into longer conversations, which can lead into friendships. And I think that's something that I found it was a lot easier to make friends. I feel like it'd be a lot easier to make friends when you kind of share that travel bug, rather that kind of trait of wanting to go and explore, rather than exploring to the Midwest and they're like, what are you doing here? And I was just like, it seemed like a cool place to go. So yeah, and then even on top of that, right? Arizona borders Mexico. A lot of people, just a lot of people from Mexico lived in Arizona as well, which is really cool to see. It's a completely different country, completely different heritage, completely different culture. Kind of integrate. A lot of really good Mexican food places in Arizona. Again, this is one thing that I'm more guilty of. I know it's very cliche, but there's a lot of really good hole in the wall restaurants. And God, do I miss some good Mexican food in Georgia? Because it's hard to find, especially hard to find in the Midwest. I don't remember ever having good Mexican food in the Midwest. Granted, I went to a small college town, but yeah, anywhere from Californians to, I mean, gosh, even look at our friend group. We've got it's bad to say, but like we got a Mexican, we got a cowboy, we got a surfer kid, you got a bunch of mountain guys, got a bunch of snowboarders, like yeah, just a very diverse group with kind of a intertwined curiosity and itch to see things, which I think kind of explains me and you pretty well.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great way to put it. And I don't know if I've ever necessarily made that realization until we, are saying this out loud. So it is fun to just kind of run this over with you. Yeah. And another thing about growing up in Arizona with having, plans never get canceled. You never change the degree of the last day by probably more than 3 to 5 degrees. It's, if it's 110, it'll be 110 the next day. So, a big thing with that is we have year-round outdoor sports. So you want to get into talk about that? I know you golf, which everyone else in the country seems to love golf come summertime, I've come to find. Where in Arizona, it was just a year-round thing to me. You want to speak about that a bit?
Yeah, so golf in Arizona is pretty, like, it's very different, right? People flock, it's snowing in their places. They're just looking to get out in the sun, be outside. They come to Arizona, they pay a bunch of money to play golf. Golf courses are in the best shape, weather's the best. It's a big moneymaker. It's a big business in Arizona. It's one of the main businesses in Arizona is golf, one of the big golf hubs in the US. Growing up as a competitive golfer, like, I didn't play when it was nice outside. Like it was nice outside. I practiced year round, but like, the rates to, pay to go play golf basically tripled from when it's nice in March and April and February compared to what it's like in, May, June, July. So like, I don't know, like it's funny how when you live there, you're opposite, you're reciprocal of what is nice, and what other people have the idea to do. So like in the summertime, go ahead.
It also, like we just mentioned, the snowbirds coming back during the nice months influence that price too, right? So there's a lot more demand in the cold months because everybody's coming from Minnesota, Wisconsin, and coming back excited to golf because they're used to only golfing in the summer.
Yeah. So the trouble of trying to get a tee time because the courses are fully booked out and the prices and fighting old people, not physically, but like just, generally, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna take, a couple weeks off in March and relax and enjoy the weather, enjoy other things. And then come May, when it starts getting hot, like all the summer tournaments kick back up. All the still major, state golf tournaments that you have are still at the same time of year in Arizona. So you're playing golf when it's really, really hot compared to the state am up in Minnesota is like perfect time of year to play golf. It's brutal. You play golf in the 100 plus, but it's nice because you have golf courses all to yourself. There's a lot less people out there. There's days where before COVID, I'd have the golf course to myself and just me. Just the young kids out there in the same position as me playing competitive golf, looking to get better. That was the time to get better. School was still out. Weather sucked, but you just had to deal with it. You got used to it. Drink a lot of water, passed out a couple times, but you just get to it. And it was nice because it felt like a fraternity. I remember going to the golf course and at the camps I'd be at, and again, it would just be us. And you could do more hooligan stuff, there's just less supervision, I guess, on the golf course. Like we got away with a lot of stuff as a kid, but it was cool. You probably feel the same way with football, like going, kind of being dragged through the mud and hell. Like it makes you closer with people. And that's how I felt with golf. Competing against each other, with each other, during Satan's asshole time, in 120-degree in Arizona in the summertime. Like, I don't know, like it just made us closer. Would I do it now? I probably absolutely not. I probably couldn't pay me enough money to go out there in summertime in Arizona and play golf, but I don't know, like you just get used to it. But yeah, in Minnesota, it's nice as hell. You're playing the nicest golf courses in the nicest conditions. Reverse all of that in Arizona in summertime just because of the weather and the way that it sits on the calendar with time of year and all that kind of stuff. So just different.
Yeah. And similar with football, moving up to Wisconsin, I came to find out that football was not a year-round sport. In Arizona, we had summer camp all throughout summer. We had 7-on-7 tournaments. We had practices with the high school, and whereas at least where I went to school in college, there was smaller schools. People played basketball in the winter, indoor sports, and kept people indoors where having the luxury of being outdoors all the time, it was great. And I know baseball, neither of us really got into baseball too much, but baseball's huge in Arizona with doing that year round and having the ability to not have to clean the fields of snow and all that. So that was a big thing as well. So you want to get into some things we did for fun growing up, Abe, being in Arizona?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of things we did for fun, but I think cliff jumping, and I think anytime you and I both go back to Arizona, it's always, hey, when are we going cliff jumping? You want to go now? Like, you want to go tomorrow? You want to go like in 10 minutes? We did that. I was pretty close to our house. We do that a lot. Again, just the access to all those trails. I think a core memory of mine growing up was just riding dirt bikes with my dad, with you guys, going camping, like just being outdoors. I didn't think the desert landscape, was too special. But man, being out here on the East Coast and kind of the start of Appalachia, like just very different. Very different way of life, very different way of spending outdoors. But man, that core of just riding dirt bikes with my dad on Sundays, playing golf on Saturdays, and hanging out with playing sports, like I can't think of a better place to do that. Again, anywhere else in the country where it snows, like you get to do that for summertime, and all that stuff gets locked up until the snow's gone, and you just stay indoors and play basketball and do whatever indoors. But yeah, man, all of the opportunities that we had to spend time outdoors in the desert, like I know that kind of sounds weird, but yeah, just spending time in the desert was fun. Climbing mountains, climbing rocks, throwing rocks, pushing rocks off rocks, like yeah, it was just so fun.
It was great.
What about you?
And I think
what sticks out to you?
we were also we're in a great location for going up to snowboard or going over to the beach to hang out um,
I mean, what, Mexico
in
is?
California or Mexico. Yeah,
Yeah,
we are 4 hours away, I think Mexico was, and then at least the beach in Mexico, and then I think it was 6 to California, and then if you wanted to go snowboard, that was only winter, but you wanted to go snowboard, that was probably 3. There was another one up probably 4 hours away.
yeah.
So yeah,
Or
it was a great centralized location where you could kind of be close to everything that you wanted, that Arizona or at least where we live did lack, that we're still within range of being able to do that. And so I really enjoyed that. The moto was a great one. I forgot about those, just being able to grow up and having our dads throw us on dirt bikes and say, go get lost. Not really worried that we're going to lose the trail or not be able to find our way back. And so we had a lot of good times, and then just going out and camping. Yes, we camped in the desert. A lot of people do not really put those things together, but that was just what it was growing up. We went out, set up the tent, slept in the sand, and ripped dirt bikes, and it was super fun just to be able to have freedom and go out in that public land and just grab some bush and burn it and cook some marshmallows, some hot dogs, some brats, and just hang out. And I think all of us, now 25-year-olds, whenever we go back to Thanksgiving, we're always like, oh, we should go camping, because we all kind of miss
yeah,
the friendship aspect of just all being in the same spot. And it's something that all reminds us of growing up, and just the great times that come with that. And with Thanksgiving up, maybe we should start planning that one. But who knows? Who knows who will make it back, or what kind of time we'll have. And I'm sure the parents will be happy to see us, and maybe not so willing to let us go out in the desert for a few nights. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. Lots of hiking, lots of water. Not necessarily lots of water, but a lot of people wanting to go hang out on the water, whether that's the pool, whether that's the lake, the river. We had, the Lake Saguaro, probably 20 minutes away from our house. We had the Salt River, probably about the same. And, going rafting down that and seeing the horses, that was always a blast. Going up to the river or the lake and cliff jumping, or if you're lucky enough to have somebody as a friend who had a boat, that was some of the best times. Wakeboarding and tubing or whatever. Wake surfing's now a thing, and I haven't really gotten to go out and do that yet. But my dad had a boat growing up, and we wakeboarded, and that was a blast. We also in Arizona, we would do scorpion hunts in the summertime. A lot of people are scared of scorpions, not knowing them and not ever seeing them. They don't know, will I die if I get stung? Does the pinchers hurt? And the answer is no to both of those. They're not bad. I got stung once in my sleep, and it just feels like pins and needles for about 24 hours, and then you're good. But scorpion hunting was a fun thing. A lot of people go out with their dads and go kill them. They glow in a black light, and so I don't know why they do it, but it's very obvious when you find one, and it's quite amazing how much they glow. If you've never seen that, look that up. It'll blow your mind. But me and my friends, we'd go out. I'm sure Abe went out with a few times with me. We went out with the license plate in a bucket, and we'd catch them off the neighbors' walls and off our walls and throw them and relocate them somewhere else. And that was super fun, and just something we did as a kid, just staying outside. So let's get into talking about our next topic, Abe. Growing up in Arizona.
Hold on, you brought up a core memory of mine. Do you
Okay.
remember catching like 20 lizards up in Payson? Like,
Yes.
like the idea of doing that anywhere else, like it, like I know a lot of states have lizards, right? I think almost all states have lizards. I get it, but like, dude, we must have had 20 lizards in a bucket in Payson, and we were just obsessed with that. Like, how many can you find? We gotta have a name for every one. and it just kept growing.
It was a blast. Yeah, we
Yeah.
we definitely did that. And I'm curious, I also caught snakes and stuff, and I'm curious how much Arizona had a role in that. Was it that they were the slow enough animals that I could actually catch them, or would I have always been such an animal guy as I am now if it weren't for Arizona and the ability to catch the scorpions, the snakes, the the lizards, and all that.
Yeah, that's a good question. You should really look into that. But
Hard to say
is
now.
there something that you always go back to, whether it's an activity, a place, a restaurant, or whatever? But is there something that you always go back to, like when you get to Arizona? Like if you go to Arizona for a week, is there something? Oh, I need to cross this off my box. Do you have
There's
something
a
like that?
there's a place called Box Canyon that it has to be in the warmer months because it is a hike. We've looked it up. It's called canyoneering. Uh, Basically, we're hiking down a waterfall, and if you've been friends with me long enough, I've definitely taken you there. It's super fun. There's cliff jumping. There's rock climbing. You're basically climbing down a river, uh, hitting waterfalls, and we're doing flips off cliffs, and it's super fun and definitely a place I recommend. And not too many people know about it. So I think my dad and I stumbled across it. We used to camp up there, and we stumbled across it, and it's been a staple for me and my friends ever since. Abe's been there plenty of times. How about you, Abe? Do you have anything you got to hit when you go back home?
Yeah, I mean, Boston is awesome. I love that place. I'll never forget the jug doing that. Definitely don't go back there. Haven't been there back there since. But there's a couple things that I always do when I go back. Yeah, I always got to do the drive out to the Salt River and back. It's something super easy. I can always do it, even if I'm crunched for time. But just to go out there and kind of drive, and not that I'm like reminiscing, but like just the flood of memories kind of coming through me. Just making that drive down, right? The roller coaster road, the steep kind of grade to see kind of the vistas and all in the background, the Red Mountain. And it's a loop, so you just come right back. You can do it at sunset, you can do it in the morning. Like it's something I find myself doing, I would say almost every time I do go back. And of course, senior taco. I've got to have my senior taco every time I go back to Arizona. If I fly in at night, is usually the first thing I have in the morning. I will wake up early, get senior taco, bring it back home and eat it. And then by that time, I think you're usually texting me that, hey, do you want to go cliff jumping? But yeah,
That's how it goes.
Those are two little things. And there's obviously a lot of stuff I've always wanted to do in Arizona and catch up with. But those are two little things that I was curious if you had something like that, which Box Canyon does make sense because you're out there. I feel like
definitely.
every time you're out. Yeah.
I try to. It's hard. I feel like I've been back in the winter, and it's just a little too cold. I've been up in the winter before, and there's snow around it, and it's not as fun as when it's warm, which is luckily most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so growing up in Arizona, it's our baseline, right? We don't really know what we don't know until we move away. And so let's get into the cost of living in Arizona. What do you think about the cost of living growing up in Arizona?
It's rising. I didn't
As
think
everywhere is. I would say.
I didn't think it was a super expensive place to live. You don't start understanding this stuff until you get older. But I don't think. I'd say it's probably middle of the pack growing up as far as cost of living and the value of the dollar. I'd say it's probably definitely above middle of the pack now, just with the flux of people moving to Minnesota, to Arizona, moving from whether it's full time down to Arizona being a snowbird, or from California, or Oregon, or New York, or Chicago, or wherever a lot of people are moving just because of taxes reasons. But I don't know. I think I think we've talked about it before. Like, do you pay the sunshine tax of California with how great it is? And I think Arizona unless it 4x is in price, like I just think it's the best value for your dollar. As far as like the sunshine tax, paying quote unquote a little extra to have nice weather and reliable weather and activities and stuff like that. Because ultimately, I do think that you got to pay for what you get, in some sort of sense. And again, I think, like, obviously, you can go live in Iowa for less, but is your quality of life, is it that much less, right? Is it proportionate? But that's where I think Arizona has that just awesome advantage that I think, again, it has gotten more expensive like everywhere, but I think it's the best sunshine tax you can pay.
So
to get everything that
in
you want.
comparison to other places you've lived, where would it rank?
It's actually
in cost of living.
It's about the same as rent prices are the exact same in Atlanta as it is
Really?
Phoenix. Yeah.
How about house prices?
About the same.
About the
Pretty
same?
much about the
Okay.
same. Yeah.
And you want to compare that to Minnesota or where you went to school?
Minnesota's cheap. So
Cheap compared to both.
I can't say cheap. It's a house, but like I know housing costs are a lot less than the
Right.
Midwest.
Right, and that's you get what you paid for, like you said. The activities, I think, really affects where I'm looking to live, and for the long term, can you go do stuff outside? Are the people great? The things we talked about. Can you play sports? Can you do things? Do you enjoy the people you're around and the type of culture that is built there? And yeah, I would agree. I'd say Arizona, for me at least, is actually in the middle.
Yeah.
Austria is hard to compare, so I'm not going to say that one. But between Wisconsin and Seattle, I would say it's right in the middle. If I had to guess, it's a little more. It's closer to Washington than it is to Wisconsin. More on the more expensive side, and I think that's just because it's a vacation destination, right? Like,
Yeah.
I had college buddies that would come to Arizona for spring break, and it's just any time you live in a place that people are vacationing to, you're going to have to pay more, and we see that with snowbirds and people having multiple homes. There's just that demand to live in the place that people want to vacation to, and live your life as a vacation. So. Definitely a fun place to live, and I think you make a great point. I think it is a great bang for your buck. It's not the most expensive place, but it is still a vacation destination and relatively cheap compared to vacation destinations like California or Florida, or I guess Florida probably isn't too bad, but they have some crazy stuff going on down there as well. But what can I say? I've never lived over there, so it's easy to get on this and say that place is crazy. We don't know about that when we really don't know about that. And I think a lot of people would say that about Arizona. On the surface, it's like I can't handle 120 degrees and rattlesnakes, and once you get there, you kind of just adapt. And that's what I've come to find. I've lived in 4 places now, and everybody has something to say about the other without ever living there. And once you get there, man, you adapt to it, and you find how to love it, and you see how people, whether that's in Wisconsin, see how people adapt to it, whether that's in Wisconsin, where, you're out on a frozen lake fishing, or if you're in Arizona and you're waking up at 4 a.m. to go on a hike. It's just kind of how you cope with the area you're in and make the most out of it. And at the end of the day, it's where do you want to make memories, and what do you want to spend your time doing?
For sure. I mean, I remember making fun of a lot of my teammates that were from Minnesota. We can get into this next pod, but then they wouldn't move from Minnesota, and I was like, dude, like, you're saving X money, but you're spending that to go on a vacation to that spot, to Florida, to Arizona, to wherever. Why not just live there full time instead of just spending 2 weeks there? Like, come on, man. Like, this is simple. Like,
yeah, or at least just try it out. Just try it out. If you've complained about something for long enough, just make the switch. Like, just try something out, and if you hate it, then move back. You always have that option. But I do like that both of us have have explored and tried a new thing. And yeah, I think that kind of leads into our next spot. You've kind of answered it for me, but would you live in Arizona again? Why or why not?
I totally would. I totally would. I thought, for a while, I told myself I had moved from Arizona to go see something else, but in the back of my mind, I knew I was gonna I always wanted to raise kids there. I love the way I was raised, and would really want to try to replicate that as much as possible. And I completely agree with you on the whole adapting thing. And I think you and I will always find a happiness to us everywhere we go. But there's just places that are more catered to us and our personalities and our traits than others. But yeah, I totally live in Arizona. I mean, again, I just listed a gazillion reasons why.
Right.
And there's way more, but yeah, I truly think it's a great bang for your buck. I think, the like-minded people there, and I've met a lot of really cool people there. I guess really the hard thing would really be breaking it down, like which neighborhood I would want to live in. I think neighbors are a big reason what shaped my life. I mean, our friend group wasn't neighbors, but we all lived in pretty close proximity. But man, up my street growing up was awesome. And then, but I will say it's funny enough. I talked to one of my good friends who's from the Midwest, college teammate, and I tell her all the time, it's like, oh, I could totally see myself living in Minnesota. So again, I've seen so many things, experienced so many things, and yeah, I think that there's no wrong answer, but I would totally live in Arizona. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with everything you say. I plan on moving back. Listen, I like Arizona. We like up here. I even somehow convinced her that she likes Wisconsin. I liked it, but she did not think she would, and she left leaving, thinking she enjoyed
Alyssa
it.
loves Wisconsin.
Yeah, she loved the small town and not enough to live in it. She does think it's a little small for that, but for what we experienced in it and the small town we lived in, she loved it. And it is funny to see just how someone so different and has so many different like ideas of fun just thinks that all the places that I've lived has been just as great as the last. And we plan on moving back to Arizona though. We do have, both of us have family there, and we've done a great job of traveling the world, and we've been on the road for probably 3 hours now, or 3 hours, sorry, 3 years now. And I think we're kind of missing the people, and we're excited to move back. And I think that's the biggest pull to why we are moving back, is just a lot of friends there, a lot less now, sadly, but a lot of family as well. And so we want to have our kids know our grandparents, and luckily enough, our parents are pretty committed to staying there. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll track that with this podcast probably. But yeah, overall, I think that pretty much sums up Arizona for us.
Yeah. Again, we could make this 3-4 hours long, but I think we really hit kind of our point across. And again, this is kind of, I definitely scratched the itch of this is basically kind of the same conversation we had in a podcast form, in your backyard, which was awesome. But that's not it. That's not all. This will be a 5-part kind of podcast series. Arizona's the place that Ken and I grew up. Next week we'll talk about, colleges in the Midwest and how we view that. Ken's in Washington right now. We'll talk about that on the one after. Talk about Georgia, and we'll talk about Austria. So quite the journey to just see, talk about each stop and the pros and cons and the differences and the similarities. And I just think it's so cool. I think that's what's so cool about life, that there's so many different chapters or fonts and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just excited to get into it all. Learned a lot being 25 years old, and a lot of it came within the last couple of years. So just to document it all is really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for listening up to this point, and we'll see you next week when we talk about the Midwest. Bye, everyone.
Catch you later.